has come for the Wicker Man to ride. Together, we shall feed the flame.
Hello guys, and welcome back to Instantly Inverted. Thanks for tuning in. We got back from Alton Towers on Tuesday evening, quite late, because we managed to ride the Wicker Man. We arrived at Alton Towers on Friday, and originally we'd actually planned like a 2-day holiday just to do the weekend and opening, but we kind of ummed and ahed about whether we'd do an extra kind of day or extra night just so that we could stop over and come back to our home, you know, a couple of days later, and just get on Wicker Man for the opening, because Amber has never done a roller coaster opening before, so I wanted her to experience, well, quite a big one. It's Alton Towers' first wooden coaster, so I thought it would be a really good way to introduce what a coaster opening is before we do Icon and Fly at Phantasialand next year. We're set to leave on the Friday, and we heard from Alton Towers that there might be some issues with weather, so we all know that the Beast from the East kind of annoyed us for like a week or so beforehand, and the weather looked like it was going to be alright, but then when we were set to leave on the Friday, we were told that, you know, rides may be unavailable and that Wicker Man was amongst those rides that might not be available, so we're a bit gutted, but we decided to leave anyway. Like, shout out to Alton Towers, they were absolutely amazing with customer service on the day of the opening, and throughout the whole kind of time period that we were there. So we were offered a 50% discount on a future stay, which we're going to be using a bit later in the year when we go for an extended amount of time. We are actually going back next Thursday, so on the 29th, I believe that is, and we're going to stop over then, but we managed to get a really cheap deal for that anyway. So yeah, we're going to go back next Thursday and ride the Wicker Man again. But onto the, back to the story. We actually arrived on the Friday evening, met up with some friends. It was actually the press event. There were a lot of celebrities there, a lot of people that we actually personally know. So that was really cool. We got to we got talking to some people. There was a massive buzz around the ride itself, and people seemed to be loving it. So that was fantastic. It was great to be kind of around people like that. We didn't actually get invited to the press event. People knew that Wicker Man probably wouldn't open the next day. The opening came. We thought it would be quieter than it was because of the weather forecast, but we actually arrived quite early to queue up and go into the park, bearing in mind we'd already been told that the only attractions that would be open were some of the attractions in CBeebies Land. Mutiny Bay would be open, and I think, well, they included Shark Bait among Mutiny Bay, and also I think Hex was scheduled to open, which it did. It had a few technical issues during the day, but you know, that's part and parcel of a theme park. So the actual buzz and ambience around the opening was absolutely incredible. It was something to behold. Like, people were, you know, upset that it wasn't going to be open, but this was also the first time that people could actually see the ride in person, because a lot of the time people had only seen videos that the park had released or things from like the Meet the Makers event. People were really excited to just get up close. They'd opened the Wicker Man shop, which was sort of a controversial topic at the time, but at the end of the day I think they wanted people to at least get somewhat of a glimpse of something to do with the ride, I guess. A lot of people bought a lot of merchandise. I mean, I have a kind of principle where I won't buy any ride merchandise until I've ridden the ride. People were turning up to the park hoping it would open. We were there anyway, so we decided to stick around in the hopes that it would open, because originally we planned to kind of leave on the Tuesday, you know, around lunchtime, because it's quite a long journey for us. We're down kind of like at the side of London, so it's about a 3-hour journey for us to actually get back home. It came to about 12 o'clock. We decided to kind of hang around the Wicker Man area. There seemed to be people turning up. Seemed like people had heard things about it maybe opening. We saw a lot of staff getting into position. We'd heard from other people that it may open, and the buzz and ambience around that ride was something else. It was exactly the kind of opening that I wanted Amber to see. Obviously she's been to multiple park openings before, but this was her first major roller coaster opening, so it was really something that I thought was great for Amber. She got to see the kind of buzz around like enthusiasts and see what people were excited about. And then it got to about, I think about 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock, and people started walking the track. The effects started to go off on the Wicker Man, so set off the mists, stuff surrounding the coaster, like effects were testing, people walking the track, people clearing the track, and the ambience was just amazing. And then they sent the trains out, and that was just incredible. That first train that came out of the tunnel onto the lift hill was just incredible. I thought there'd be maybe more of a roar, but previously the staff had moved a lot of people out of the way because there was a massive queue for it. I think it worked out at about a 60-minute queue at one point. Bearing in mind, the queue time was technically longer than that because people had queued from about 12 o'clock for this ride. So people, by the time it actually opened, it opened at about just before about 3 o'clock. So there was only about an hour's ride time. So we unfortunately only got one ride, but that was enough for me. Like, well, I'd have loved more, but that was enough for me to build a first impressions. So the buzz of that first train coming out of the tunnel, going up onto the lift hill, was just immense. The only roller coaster opening I've been to before was Saw the Ride at Thorpe Park. So the ambience of this was even bigger, despite it being a low day. Like, there weren't that many people on park, maybe about 3,000, maybe 4,000. But it was so quiet, and everybody, I swear everybody in the park was at the Wicker Man. Apart from maybe, I think we looked at the queue times and there was like a 45-minute wait for Galactica, which is kind of standard for Galactica with the VR and all that. But either way, most people on park were at Wicker Man, forming a queue that went all the way from the entrance, originally all the way back around the shop, to basically the Katanga Canyon sign. It was massive, and it was so cool to see. We didn't actually get in the queue straight away, we just waited nearby because we wanted to get some kind of looks of the coaster. Annoyingly, I wasn't filming a vlog that day, because originally I was going to film the vlog for opening, but what with all the ride closures and stuff, I just didn't really want to put a kind of bad, sour taste, you know, in my mouth of a bad vlog just because nothing's open. So I didn't film a vlog. When we go back on Thursday next week, I will be filming a vlog from then, so I will get shots of Wicker Man and things like that. But instead I didn't film the vlog, so annoyingly I didn't have my camera on me, so I couldn't really get any footage of the ride. But I'll see if there's some kind of footage I can find from maybe Alton Towers, like kind of fill that in and segue around that in the video. But yeah, so on to the actual impressions of the ride that I got. So the buzz already was amazing. As soon as that queue line opened, everybody was live on Facebook, filming, chatting about the ride, and it was just superb. We walked straight through that entrance. Just seeing the queue line was absolutely incredible. So they opened the whole queue line for us, including the kind of cattle pen area at the beginning, which is kind of like the worst part of the queue line, and it's right down near the front of the ride, so you don't actually get many views of the coaster. But once you get past that cattle pen and the first kind of extension, there's a view on your left hand side where the fence kind of dips down a bit and you can see pretty much the whole coaster below you. And at the time they're not necessarily testing the coaster, but sending the coaster around a few times so that you can watch it as you're going through the queue line. And watching it go down some of those bends and around the twists and through the Wicker Man structure was absolutely incredible. It's just such a nice coaster. So I think partly what they were doing was trying to run the coaster in a bit, because with these kind of wooden coasters they do need to be ran at least a fair amount just to get that speed going and get the wheels warmed up. So yeah, by the time we rode it, it was flying through the track. Absolutely incredible sight to behold. From that first run of the coaster, the first test, to seeing it when we got on it, it was one of the quickest coasters I have seen, besides, you know, multiple launch coasters and things like that. But yeah, so walking through that queue line, it's so immersive. There is music in there's like different music tracks in every different section as you walk around the ride, which is just incredible. Immerscore have done incredible work. They've done incredible work before with other rides. They've done, well, the Smiler, they've done Helix at Liseberg. And they've done the big top at Thorpe Park as well, so hearing that music as you're going through, hearing the different segments of the track is just amazing. And there are so many different views as you're walking around this queue line. The only issue is that the fences are so high that if you're short, like Amber, you can't really see much. So you can hear the coaster, but you can't really see, like, the fences are about, I think Merlin have this standard of about 1.4 or something, but they've extended beyond that, so it's like almost like a 2-meter high fence, so it's very, very tricky to see over it, but they've kind of left gaps so that you can almost see through it. Nonetheless, they've got bunting around with lighting, they've got these torches, like LED torches that have a kind of flame effect, as well as on the outside they've actually got like gas torches that have real fire coming out of them. It's just incredible. Yeah, with the soundtrack changing as you go through, it gets like more dark and more kind of ominous as you get through the queue line. And then you go under the lift hill and you can see the chain like above you, and that chain is beefy. But then you get to the merge point, greeted by, I think there's like 2 members of staff at that point. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it will stay like that the whole time. And then yeah, you get kind of batched into like a little, it's not the pre-show, but it's just before the pre-show, so it's like they can kind of send people through in waves. It is right next to the baggage, but it's kind of like a waiting room before the pre-show as well as baggage. And then they close the doors behind you and the room's like really, really dark. And the theming is just quality. It's real, like Amber brought up a big point to me. She was like, it's real Wicker. Like, it's not just any kind of fake stuff. And just before this point, you'd gone next to Universal Rocks, who did all the rock work for Taron, and they do a lot of stuff for Phantasialand. They were brought in to create proper theming, like real rocks and real brickwork around the area. So it's all actual theming. It's not just vinyls, and it's not like plastic rocks. It's all correct, proper kind of materials that they've used. So yeah, just before this pre-show, the whole room is like Wicker, and then from this point, this is going to be somewhat spoilery. I'll try and avoid anything too major, because if you really want to look for spoilers and you want to see the pre-show, there are channels out there that have uploaded the pre-show. I don't think they're too keen on filming at the moment. I think once the ride opens, they'll probably get a bit more lax on the actual pre-show filming. Obviously it's Merlin, Alton Towers, they won't allow filming on the ride anyway. I think there are POVs if you want to see them, but either way. So yeah, spoiler warning, you get brought into the pre-show room, and this room is absolutely outstanding. It's like wicker walls all around you with the lighting just coming through, looking like they've got like blue lighting and yellow lighting, and it really adds this kind of creepy atmosphere. And there's a big sheet in front of you, like right up in the air, which plays the pre-show kind of story. I won't go into detail, but either way. And this room like stretches so high up, it's just phenomenal. I think on the outside of the ride, if you're looking at it, there's like a big kind of turret almost, and that's, I think, where the pre-show is kept. So yeah, on the floor of this pre-show, there is a kind of like rune marking on the floor. It's all kind of like proper concrete, and it's been shaped so that it's got this like circular kind of area with like runes all around it. And then the pre-show happens. It made a few people jump. For me, it didn't really make me jump. If you're right at the front, I think some of the kind of atmosphere and some of the kind of, I get jump scares are kind of lost on you, because you can kind of see it coming. I think people that were further back got the full effect, but you know, at the front we didn't. We could kind of see what was going to come. So if you do ride it, try and stay near the back. It doesn't really matter where you stand. They batch it like 2 groups. So the train has like 12 rows with two people sat next to each other. So it seats 24, and they batch about 48 into the pre-show. So that's 2 trains worth. And it's quite smooth. It's a good transition. Obviously when we were there, it was the first opening day. They had a few issues when they were batching and things like that. I think they were running 2 trains when we went, but I think they've had some issues with that, so I've heard it's not going to be any less than 3 trains now. That's what it's running. So at the time of recording this video, it's the 22nd of March, like Thursday, so it's they've opened the ride again today. They opened it quite early, I believe, and it's absolutely dead on park. Like, all the reports I've seen are like 0-minute queues, walk on to Wicker Man. I really wish I was there today, but either way. So after the pre-show you get batched straight into the station. There's no other waiting, it's literally straight into the station, walk down, meet the host, and he'll tell you to load from either the front or the back first. We were told to load from the front, so I was a little bit disappointed, and I thought, oh god, no, I don't want to be at the front. I know what woodies are like. Most woodies are a back row kind of thing if you want the airtime and you want those twists and pops. So we got batched at the front, and I was a little bit like, oh great, here we go. This is going to ruin my opinion of it. But, I thought, let's go in, mind open. We were on the second row, our friends were in the front row. The Millennium Flyer trains they're using have a new kind of T-bar system, which I've heard isn't quite accommodating for some of the kind of larger guests that get on. For me it was fine. Me and Amber, we're both short. We got on quite easily. No issues there. There were other guests further back on the train, they didn't have any issues. So it does seem quite accommodating, contrary to what other people were saying. We sat down, they've got this amazing announcement when you get off the train that's there is no escape to the right, exit to the left. It's all themed and it sounds incredible. So there, you set off on the coaster, out of the station, dip down straight to the right and then bank around to the left, and there's smoke effects just pouring out. And one of the most incredible things is that this smoke gets kind of wrapped up in you, and I saw this watching other people on the lift hill get, as it comes around that left bend, it hits the lift hill and it goes up, but the smoke kind of clings to people, and it's like this smoky aura around them, and it just kind of disperses behind them, and it's just one of the most incredible, gorgeous looking things I've seen on a coaster. Up until this point, all the audio has been going straight up the lift hill, audio all the way, and then you get to the top of the lift hill and you enter the tunnel and the ride starts. And it is, I'm not going to give a word for word detailed description on what happens on the ride as you go around it, because nobody cares about that. Just go ride it yourself if you want to know. But it is genuinely one of the most intense family coaster layouts I've been on. It's not the best coaster in the world by a long shot, but what it does have, it does really, really well. That first drop, you go down the lift and you go over another airtime hill through another tunnel, and then you bank really quickly right then left. That is one of the most intense drops I've had on a coaster before. It's so good, and it provides some incredible photography shots there. I want to see as many photos of that S-bend as I can, because it is just gorgeous. Going through the coaster, one thing I'll mention is the Wicker Man. For a theming element that is on fire, it is the wettest part of the ride I've ever, of any ride I've seen, besides a rapids. So as you go through the Wicker Man statue, it's just there's water just coming down on you. It's really cold going through that bit, and this wasn't the warmest day we were on. Obviously we just suffered the kind of weather issues, so it was really cold going through that bit. But that layout packs a big punch for the small little coaster it is, and it feels like it lasts a lot longer than it does. It's quite a short layout. You hit the brake run and you don't feel like it was too short. You just get off going, that was amazing. And obviously there are effects after the maintenance shed, but I don't really want to spoil what it is because it made me jump, and it's better just to go on that coaster and see a lot of it for yourself. That's why I don't want to spoil the pre-show or what happens in the pre-show, because it is so good. It's one of the most immersive experiences I've ever done. It's the best ride on park since Hex, and I solidly rate that coaster a 9 out of 10. The only thing to make that coaster better for me would be to have a better layout. I mean, the layout already is great, but it just needs to be a bit longer for me. That's just personal. I'm used to coasters like Wodan and Joris, and things like that. So yeah, it's not the best GCI layout, but it's a good layout. It's fantastic. I haven't heard a bad review from the ride yet. So yeah, that's my first impressions of it. I was having kind of not the best time at Towers before then. I was getting kind of ready to complain because on the Monday there were some issues that we knew some of the rides could run, but they weren't running them, which for whatever reason, that's Alton Towers' decision. If they don't want to open the rides, they're quite within their right not to. As much as we are paying customers, they, all rides are subject to availability. So yeah, but after riding the Wicker Man, it made up for everything we'd had over the weekend. It was honestly, It's probably my #1 coaster in the UK. I'm not yet going to say it's in my top 3 in the world. I do need to ride it again because I have ridden it only once on the front and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had from a coaster. So yeah, we're going back up on Thursday next week on the 29th. I'll be recording a vlog from then, so yeah. Let me know what you want to see from the resort. Let me know if you want to see some bits from the hotel. I think the Scott family might be on. Not entirely sure if they're there. So that's my first impressions of Wicker Man. 9 out of 10. One of the best themed experiences. One of the best themed roller coasters, and probably the best themed wooden coaster I've ever been on. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to see more videos, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.